Coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere, this is Truth Perception.
Really, it's hard to prove that UFOs are aliens. What I try to prove is that the UFOs are not something that we're making because we are chasing them much of the time. And so I think it's reasonable to assume that some of them are alien in some way, whether that means extraterrestrial or who knows. It doesn't have to mean that they're extraterrestrial, but it's a reasonable assumption. But to answer your question, I think that my argument, I've offered this in my most recent book, is that we're dealing with not simply an alien civilization, but we're dealing with what I now call a breakaway civilization. By that I simply mean, consider what you could do if you were in the classified world and if you had a near infinite amount of money thrown at you and you had exotic technology to start with to study, let's say alien crash retrieval technology, right? What could you do with it after 10, 20, 30 years of studying it? Would you have a few eureka moments? You might have some major breakthroughs of your own, and it's quite possible that you might not want to share it with the whole rest of the world.
Exactly.
You might share some of it and make some money, commercial breakthroughs and so on, but there may be certain elements of what you learn that might be deemed too classified, too important to share with anyone else. And so what I theorize has happened is that within that world, one breakthrough often can lead to another and lead to another. And so what you end up having are a series of technological scientific breakthroughs in the classified world, in which essentially that world has outstripped our own world so far that I begin to call it a separate civilization. After all, what is a civilization? It's something that's bound together by certain common belief in the structure of the world, I guess, certain levels of technology. And if this classified group has a completely different level of technology, and they also have a different understanding of the nature of the world, i.e. a world that has alien intelligences in it, well, maybe they do classify as a separate civilization, and I might call that a breakaway civilization. They've broken away, as it were, from us. And I actually do think that this is what has happened. And so, when we're talking about some of this exotic technology, or these exotic craft that are being seen, I don't think it's accurate to say that they're all ET or all alien. And I don't think it's accurate to say that they're all terrestrial. And I don't think it's accurate to say that any of them are military, per se. In other words, within the formal Air Force or the formal Navy. When there's an object being chased by a Navy jet or an Air Force jet fighter, I'm assuming that this is not a Navy or Air Force craft. But it might be an object that originates from even a more clandestine human civilization. When we talk about the classified world, I mean they don't have any oversight in the sense that we think of oversight. I think it's quite possible that with a great deal of private money, connected, yes, to the military world, but primarily private, what is the limit for these people? Maybe there aren't that many limits. I know it's an idea that has not. I don't think any other researchers have really been introducing this idea, but it's one that I've been working on for the last few years, and I'm using it as my working hypothesis these days. I think what we're dealing with, in other words, is a kind of secret Cold War that is going on, where you've got these other intelligences that are interacting with this world, and where you've got, let's call it Majestic, okay, It's
Exactly.
very, very clandestine breakaway type of civilization. And I think what's happening is that they are trying to deal with this reality. And they are trying to deal with it in a way that is in some key ways beyond the scope of the US military itself. Crazy as it
Hmm.
sounds.